Hi, I'm Jaclyn.
And I'm Courtney, and this is Caffeinated Crimes.
Welcome to an espressode, which we have not done in a while, I feel like. So something exciting, a little different. In case you are new here, our espressodes are where one of us does the research on our own and tells it to the other person. So you kind of get that real reaction of, hey, here's a story that you've never heard before, and it kind of gives the other person a little break on researching and preparing and all that fun stuff. We do get really good feedback that people like this format, so hopefully you guys enjoy today's espressode.
Yeah, it is fun, like, researching it, because I'm like, I hope Jaclyn says this here, or I hope, I hope this comes off like I want it to come off. Like, I remember when I did the Christian Bala case, because it was so crazy, and I was like, I can't wait for all the reactions from this case.
Yes, because I think that's something that Courtney and I enjoy a lot about the podcast is while we're, like, researching together, we're, like, texting the other person, like, oh my God, did you see this? Or then this happened. And, it's so much fun to, like, have that moment. So you guys just get to hear those moments when we do these.
Yeah, like, Jaclyn had a moment last night when she was researching.
Yes, I did have a moment for an episode that's coming up. I don't even know how many weeks now. Probably like 4-ish or something.
4, 5? I don't know.
But I was typing around midnight on July 10th, and then I looked up at my computer and I was like, today is July 10th. And it was July 10th, 2001. And I was like, today's the 20th anniversary. Like, in like 2 hours is the 20th anniversary of when this happened. And I was a little spooked for the rest of the night. I'm not going to lie. It kind of threw me off a little bit.
Yeah, it is always weird, like, when they line up like that and you're just like, ooh, holy cow.
Which this isn't the first time that's happened. Like, this has happened probably 3 or so times at this point, which is pretty crazy if you think about the fact that there's 365 days in a year and somehow we've done this multiple times.
They just line up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And last night what I did was I took a little break from working and research, and in case you guys are a fan like I am, Whose Line Is It Anyway is on HBO Max. I loved that show as a kid, and so did Kevin apparently, and so we just like picked random episodes and just sat on the couch and laughed, and it was a great time. So I just had to share that with you guys.
That sounds like a good time.
I like remember as a kid staying up late to watch that show on ABC Family, and I loved it. And so yeah, we just sat and just laughed at all the stupid shit they come up with. So if you guys are a huge Whose Line Is It Anyway fan, you should go check that out immediately.
That definitely sounds like a good time and a nice break from all of the other heavy stuff of the world and work and everything.
Yeah, I needed, like, we just watched 2 episodes. I was like, I just need a moment. I just need something not serious, I need Whose Line Is It Anyway? That is what I need in my life.
Well, I'm glad you got to enjoy that. And speaking of the heaviness of the world and all the sad things, here we go. So a couple of true crime updates for you guys this week. Just yesterday, Wayne Couzens, who was the police officer in London that kidnapped, raped, and murdered Sarah Everard, he did plead guilty to murder this week. He had already pled guilty to kidnap and rape, but did also plead guilty to the murder this week. So he has not been sentenced yet. That is coming. But at least her family and friends will not have to go through a trial and everything that comes with that. Courtney and I were both very surprised. It may be different over there, but in the United States, police officers do not plead guilty to anything ever. So
yeah, I was very shocked when it was like he just pled guilty and wasn't, I haven't done too much like background research on himself or anything like that, so I don't know if there's like some other reason he's doing this or whatever, but hey, if you want to set the scene and just start with, let's just go ahead. You're right. I did it. I'll go ahead and plead guilty. Other officers follow suit.
Yes, definitely.
We also kind of have an update a few episodes ago. Last episode, don't remember. We talked about the condo building in Miami that collapsed. So they have updated. There are 90 confirmed dead, and there's still 31 people unaccounted for. I mean, I'm not assuming it's going to be good for those other 31 people, but they have been finding a few more of the bodies. I did see they finally condemned the rest of the building. Like, they didn't immediately do that. Like, the other people, like, I was like, what? What do you mean you didn't immediately?
Like, are you still living there? Like, what?
Yeah.
What's happening?
So, they did, I think, condemn the rest of the building. So, hopefully those other 31 people will be found so their families can have, I don't know, closure is kind of a bad word, but at least just know where their loved ones are.
Yeah, definitely. Such a sad situation, like everything is, like this whole podcast is, but that's what you guys are here for. So clearly some part of you is interested in it just like we are, or you wouldn't be here. Or maybe you just really like us as people. So, I don't know.
I mean, unlikely, but
It's probably not the case, but
we had a whole intro talking about toenails. I don't think that's why the people keep coming back.
Wait, you're telling me this part isn't why people are here? Because I thought people just found our toenail conversation riveting. I really did.
There might be someone out there who just listens to the intro, skips the crime, and then listens to our perk of the week. If you're out there, let us know. It would completely shock me.
It's probably our family, but
probably.
But not my dad, because he listens to every word of every episode and then makes sure to text me and tell me his thoughts about it. So I know you're listening to the whole thing, Dad. Appreciate it. So the sources for today's episode is an episode of 48 Hours, which was season 30, episode 4, an Oxygen.com article, and 2 Sun Sentinel articles. On September 30th, 2011, 66-year-old millionaire Lanny Horwitz was found dead by a gunshot wound in his bathroom. There was no sign of forced entry, and both Lanny's son and ex-wife were home at the time of his death. So who murdered Lanny Horwitz? Courtney, any guesses?
It was me. I'm just kidding. Okay, so you said it was... Who was in the house?
His son and his ex-wife.
Ex-wife is too obvious. I'm going to say it's the son. Or it's probably going to be some random intruder.
Okay, let's see. So Lanny Horwitz first started working for his father as a real estate agent at the age of 16. He was wildly successful from a young age and quickly became a millionaire. In 1967, he married his high school sweetheart, Donna. They soon had their only son, Radley, and Donna stayed home to care for him while Lanny pursued multiple successful business ventures. So he is just getting into, all kinds of things. He's just really doing all the business things, making all the money like a white man in the 60s can do, Mm-hmm. So Lanny and Donna owned sailboats, airplanes, and homes all over the country. They frequently traveled internationally and just led a very lavish lifestyle. But after 30 years of marriage, Donna started to feel ignored and neglected. So Lanny was often away on business, and she didn't feel like she received enough of his attention. Friends of Lanny's claimed that Donna had had multiple affairs during this time because of her need for attention. So the couple did divorce in May of 2001. However, they quickly remarried in September of 2001, which is just a few months later.
Which I feel like a divorce is usually very expensive. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty crazy when you get married right after.
Yeah, that's a lot of money and time and everything for you to...
And they have a lot of stuff.
Exactly.
So...
Yeah. But they did divorce again in June of 2002. So... Married and divorced twice.
Hey, they already had the plan. They already had the plan there. And they're like, all right, just reenact this.
We'll just keep this, just copy and paste next time. It'll be fine.
Just if you get divorced and you want to get back together, just date for a little bit. Don't get married. Figure it out that way.
Exactly. Or just don't get married again at all, period. And just be together that way. And, don't involve the courts and, whatever. Do you. I don't know. So their son Radley began working for his father once he reached adulthood, and he soon married and had his own daughter, but they would also divorce, so Radley would become a single father. So he started having some financial troubles, so he moved in with his dad in a wealthy housing development called Admiral's Cove. So this was a very safe, gated community, low crime, 24/7 security, and multi-million-dollar homes. So I think we all have a good picture of what this place looks like. Mm-hmm. So in 2011, Donna and Lanny reconciled, and Donna moved into the home with him and Radley. So they waited 10 years this time.
They just can't quit each other.
They cannot. So Radley claims that on the morning of September 30th, 2011, he woke up to gunshots in the home and the home security alarm going off. He said he heard dry fire, which is the clicking sound made by a trigger of an empty gun, and then his mom screaming for him. So he ran to his parents' bedroom and he found his father dead on the bathroom floor. His mom was hysterical, and Radley knew immediately that he was already dead. So he turned off the alarm, which had been triggered by the sound of glass breaking because one of the bullets pierced the shower door. So a security officer quickly showed up because of the alarm, because remember, this is a very well-secured community. So when the security officer arrived, the gun was in Lanny's hand, and Radley told him that his father was dead by a gunshot, so the security officer assumed that he had died by suicide, and that's how he called it in to 911. So police arrived and began questioning Donna and Radley, again still assuming that this was a suicide. And at the time, Donna was heard saying, quote, "He's so mean, he's been saying he would do this." Then she said that she didn't hear anything before finding him. So she said that she didn't hear any gunshots. She just walked in and found him dead on the floor with the gun in his hand. So after she said this, she then just clammed up and refused to speak to police anymore. She wouldn't say anything else. So Radley was very stoic and calm, while Donna just was hysterical but refusing to talk. At one point, she covered her ears and said, "I can't hear you," when the police were trying to talk to her. So she's just hysterical.
Yeah.
So the coroner finally arrived to remove the body 10 hours later.
That's a long time.
That's a very long time. I mean, they are assuming that it's a suicide, but I assume you're still going to do an investigation, and that's a really long time to wait for the coroner to arrive.
Because that throws off everything, like all of your, if you're trying to investigate, like your estimates of when they died, like any evidence, like everything's thrown off.
Exactly. I feel like, too, most of the time that any suicide is investigated to make sure that it's a suicide, right? Especially,
there's usually,
in this manner.
Pictures taken, different stuff to, look at the scene and be like, okay, this is what it seems to be.
Mm-hmm. So if they would have arrived earlier, they would have quickly discovered that Lanny had been shot 9 times. So, pretty sure this was not a suicide.
Yeah, so in a case that's coming up, there was some research that 2 shot suicides, sometimes 3, can be common. 9 is not common. 9.
No, I don't think you can shoot yourself 9 times and survive to keep going to the 9th shot.
Yeah, no. And I mean, I think if you missed the first 4, you might just stop trying.
You're like, give up on this plan because this isn't working.
This isn't working, y'all.
So at this point, everyone is still just roaming around the house, just doing their thing. So now the coroner's like, okay, stop. This is clearly a homicide. Everyone's got to go. We have to treat this as a crime scene. 10 hours later, I don't know what good that's going to do, but it's finally happened.
And the police were there, right?
Yeah.
How far was their head up their ass to not be like, 1, 2, 3,
Wait a minute.
You might know how to do math, because I think this isn't adding up.
So they found that a bullet had traveled through the shower door, and Lanny had been shot while in the shower, and then shot an additional 9 times, with the final one being through his mouth. So basically they think that he stumbled out of the shower after the first shot, and was then shot multiple times at a very close range. So while searching the house, police found 26 guns and thousands of rounds of ammunition.
Okay, Tex McIver.
Yes, so a lot going on here.
Yeah.
2 revolvers that had recently been fired were found in the bedroom and did match the ballistics from the crime scene. So the murder weapon, 2 murder weapons are in the home.
Okay.
Both of them did have blood smears on them. One gun was registered to Lanny and the other was registered to Donna. Police discovered that there were no signs of forced entry, and the alarm only went off because of the sound of the shattered glass from the shower. So there were no signs of anyone breaking into the home. It just had a sound trigger for broken glass, which is what set off the alarm, which is what prompted the security officer. So at this point, they're like, okay, clearly it had to be either Radley or Donna, because there are no signs that anyone has broken into this home. He was shot with his own gun that is still left in the home, so pretty obvious at this point.
And it seems like his son or his ex-wife would have seen someone leaving the home.
You would think
because
so.
They did find him semi-soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So during their investigation, they also discovered Donna's journal. So at first, she wrote about spending time with her granddaughter and just normal everyday activities. Then she started writing about reconciling with Lanny. She said that he asked her to loan him $200,000, and then if she did so, she could move back in with him. So just give me 200 grand
Okay.
and we can live together. That's totally normal, right? No red flags there.
Totally easy.
Yes. So 5 months after moving in together, her journal entries started getting darker, and she wrote that Lanny was playing games with her. And then a woman named Francine Tice was introduced. So Francine and Lanny became business partners, but spent a lot of time together. And Donna really became obsessed with Francine, and in her journal, she started documenting her every move. And she was like, Francine arrived at this time, and Lanny left with her at this time, and Lanny arrived home at this time, and just very specific, like, she's stalking this woman. Mm-hmm. There were also photos at this time of Lanny and Francine kissing and holding hands. So seems like there's something going on here. Their friends reported that there was definitely a sexual relationship between the two, but Francine has continued to deny this. Obviously, Lanny's not around to tell his side, but Francine says there was nothing going on. So Lanny also did not get along with his son Radley. So Radley called his father an evil bastard and said that he had done many bad things to him throughout his life.
Red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag.
So in September of 2011, Lanny was scheduled to go on a business trip with Francine, and he told Donna that he wanted her out of the home by the time that he returned. So clearly their 5 months of sort of marital bliss again for the third time was not working out. So Lanny was murdered the morning he was supposed to leave on this trip.
Interesting.
Radley gave a DNA sample and agreed to have his hands tested for gunshot residue after his father's death, and that did come back negative. Donna refused to answer any questions, like we said before, and did ask to speak to an attorney. Like we've said on this podcast many times before, that does not imply that you are guilty. Just because you refuse to talk and want to speak to an attorney does not mean you did it. That is your right, and you should definitely do that. But it does make her look suspicious to everyone at this point.
Yeah, it looks suspicious, but also highly recommend. 10 out of 10 recommend doing that.
Definitely. So investigators did not examine either of their clothes and did not perform a gunshot residue test on Donna's hands for some reason, even though they know clearly at this point that it was one of them, but they didn't test her.
Whew, Lord, your tax dollars at waste right there.
Exactly. So their clothes were not tested, like I said, but there was also no obvious blood on either of them. Something to keep in mind. And since Lanny was shot 9 times at close range, you would assume that the killer would be covered in blood. Like we mentioned already, he was also found fairly quickly after his death because the security officer responded to the alarm. So this wouldn't give the killer a lot of time to dispose of their clothes or any other evidence, which is maybe why the murder weapon was still in the bedroom.
Did it say in this house how many bathrooms there were, by chance?
At least 2.
Because, like, if he shot in his bathroom, could the killer have a bathroom to clean up in? You know what I mean?
That's a good question, Courtney.
That's a good question. Oh, okay.
We'll get to that. So, 6 days after Lanny's death, Donna was arrested for his murder. Her defense attorney argued that Radley was actually the one that killed Lanny. He believed that he's the only one with motive because he inherited around $500,000 and multiple homes, cars, and other assets at the time that Lanny died. As his ex-wife, Donna would receive nothing. So if you look at motive, Radley clearly has the motive here, because usually you look at the wife, but they're already divorced. She's not going to get anything from his death. Donna's defense also argued that Radley had moved into his father's home because he was in financial trouble, so it would make the most sense for him to murder him for money. He also said that the shooter had to have been taller than Lanny based on the angle of the wounds and the blood spatter, which would rule out Donna. Again, as we've said many, many times, blood spatter evidence is not accurate or reliable, so take that with what you will. Mm-hmm. And then finally they argued that clearly it was Radley because Radley was also a convicted felon. So, Prior to working with his dad, Radley had been a licensed gun dealer, so he bought an illegal gun part online that could convert his Glock pistol into an automated weapon. So this brought him to the attention of ATF, which is the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, but he wasn't arrested, which I feel like has something to do with being a rich white man. I don't know, just a guess there.
Yeah, that's usually how that works.
Yeah. So Radley claims that he bought the gun part at his father's suggestion. So then, in 2006, Radley was arrested for selling a handgun to a felon. So because he was on their radar for this whole time, this is why, part of the reason why he was arrested and found selling a gun to a felon in 2006. So Radley spent 5 months in prison, and he always blamed his father for this. So he said if his father had not encouraged him to buy the illegal gun part, he wouldn't have been on ATF's radar, and he wouldn't have been caught selling the gun to the felon.
But you're also a grown-ass man, so take some responsibility for yourself.
Exactly. But at one point after his father's death, Radley said, quote, "I'm glad he was alive long enough to know this was payback for everything bad he's done." So...
Okay. Honestly, I'm getting spoiled rich kid vibes. A little bit. Like, you went and moved in with your dad in his nice-ass house, and probably, I'm sure his dad gave him as much money as he wanted and access to whatever. He was not hurting for anything. And then you're going to say all this? Like, don't bite the hand that feeds you. Like,
yes. And Radley was also reported by family members to have spoken ill of his father during the funeral. So again, your father who has paid your way for all this time, and you're just talking shit about him at his funeral after he was murdered.
Over something, I mean, I get it. You were charged, whatever. Like, but it's not like he murdered your loved one in front of you. Like,
right?
Just have a little bit of respect. Like, you don't have to like your father, but like, don't trash him at the wedding. Like, at the wedding, at the funeral, wherever we're at.
Just in general, don't trash him, especially when he's...
Yeah, just, it's not necessary. We don't have to do that.
And like you said, like, he made the decision to buy the weapon. It wasn't like his father told him to do it. Okay, but you're a grown-ass man. You can't blame him for actually doing what he told you that you should do.
It's not like your father set you up and you took the fall for him or something. Like, you just were like, hey, is this a good idea? And he was like, I don't know, maybe, sure. And now you're like, it's his fault.
It's all your fault. Again, spoiled rich kid, for sure. So during Donna's trial, the defense tried every possible way to claim that Radley had killed his father. So CSI technicians had documented that luminol lit up on the sink and the faucets in Radley's bathroom. But luminol can also light up for cleaning products, and obviously a sink and a faucet is very likely to have residue from a cleaning product on it. And the CSI tech that testified at trial also said that cleaning products usually light up differently than blood, so it's not like an exact science of like, this shade is this and this shade is blood, but she said usually it shows up a little bit differently, and then it appeared to her that the stains on the sink were more likely cleaning products than blood. But the defense did get her to say that it was possible that it was blood because the luminol did light up, and again, this is all over Radley's sink. So someone in the home had to have cleaned up blood from their body, because there's no way you could shoot someone 9 times at point blank range and not have blood on you.
Yeah.
So the defense also claimed that maybe Radley had hired a hitman to kill his father instead of killing him himself. So this would explain why Radley would have the motive and would still benefit, but why there was no blood or gunshot residue on him. There also wouldn't be any signs of forced entry if Radley had let him in or left something open for him to enter the home. And another piece of evidence they used to back up this theory was that DNA was found in a bloody handprint on a gate inside the home that didn't match Lanny, Donna, or Radley. But the CSI tech did testify that the test would have picked up any DNA that was left on the gate from someone touching it at any time. So it was not necessarily like associated with the bloody handprint. It just kind of came up where the bloody handprint was. But obviously a gate is a common object for anyone in the home to touch. So it could have been any guest that had visited at any point that DNA could still be left on it from. And prosecutors also argued that the hitman theory didn't make sense because Lanny was killed with his own gun. So what kind of professional hitman is going to come in and try to find the person's gun that you're going to kill instead of bringing in your own gun.
Yeah, I guess unless Radley was just like, here, use this gun. We're going to frame my mom.
See, and that was another point that they brought up was if the hitman had been hired by the son who lived in the home, wouldn't he want it to definitely look like an intruder? Like, why would he give him this gun to use? Because if you're trying to make it look like it was someone else, you're not going to give them any more reason to think that it was someone in the home.
You would also think if it was a hitman, you'd be like, hey, show some signs of forced entry so we can say it was a random intruder and not pointing to me and my mom.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So
kind of weird.
Donna's defense is basically like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't know. So Donna did decline to testify at trial, and the jury deliberated for only 2 hours before finding Donna guilty of first-degree murder. So 2 hours is a very, very short period of time to decide someone is guilty of murder.
Yeah, that's quick.
Yeah. She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. So Donna appealed her conviction, and 4 years later she won, and her conviction was overturned. So the judge said that Donna's right to remain silent was violated in her first trial because in closing arguments, the prosecutor said that Donna refused to talk to police when they initially thought that Lanny's death was a suicide and that she hadn't been read Miranda rights at that point, so the jury should consider that an admission of guilt. And basically the judge came back and was like, you can't say that because you still have the right to remain silent. So you can't tell the jury that someone should be considered guilty for refusing to speak.
Yeah.
So basically, because of that prosecutor, her conviction was overturned. So then she went on trial for Lanny's murder again, because that's what you do when it's overturned because of a technicality, unless you're Bill Cosby. So Francine Tice testified at this trial and again claimed that she did not have a sexual relationship with Lanny, but they did play a voicemail that she had left Lanny asking him to come over for, quote, a quickie and a drink.
Okay.
So Francine laughed when the voicemail was played and said that a quickie is what they called a drink and there was nothing sexual about it.
Okay. There's some words that you can like try and like say mean something else, but I think it's pretty universal what a quickie means.
Especially because she said a quickie and a drink. So you want to come over for a drink and a drink?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. You should have been like, no, I meant like a quick movie, a quick show, something else. Some quick sand would make more sense. Like,
quick snack and a drink, you know? That's what a quickie is. So during this trial, Donna's defense painted Francine as another possible suspect in Lanny's murder. So, I mean, her defense, they're going for it.
But I mean, it could make sense, like, if you did have some sort of relationship with him and you were going on a business trip with him and you go to meet him and then you're mad and you see a gun, like, it could happen.
And also, Francine received $200,000 from Lanny's life insurance policy.
That's suspicious.
She did also have a permit for a concealed weapon, which I don't really consider that much of evidence because he was clearly shot with his own gun, so I don't really know why that matters unless it's just pointing to the fact that she knows how to use a gun.
That could make sense. Like, she knows how to use a gun, but it's also like, I'm pretty sure using a gun to kill someone is illegal. It's a misuse of a firearm there.
So Francine claimed that she didn't know that she was on Lanny's life insurance policy until after his death. So she's like, I didn't even know that I was going to get money. So Donna's second trial lasted for 4 days, and the jury was deadlocked at first, but eventually did come back guilty for second-degree murder versus first-degree murder. And the judge then reduced Donna's sentence to 32 years in prison with 6 years time served. So Donna is eligible for parole after serving 25 years, but she will be in her 90s by then. So one of the jurors, Ken Rudden, who originally voted non-guilty but changed his vote to guilty, now says that he caved and he still doesn't believe that Donna is guilty. Like,
I can imagine that happens a lot too. Like, I've seen like fictionalized versions of this, but like, I'm sure like everyone in that room knows who the not guilty person is, and they're like, come on, let us go home, let us go to our families, back to our job. Like, you know, they get pressured into just like conceding. Like,
Oh, yeah, especially because so many times they'll come back and say, hey, we're deadlocked, and the judge is like, not good enough, try again, and like sends them back. And especially with this being her second trial, I can imagine that he's like, we're not going to do a mistrial and do this again. Like, make a decision.
yeah.
So the juror Ken said that the case was circumstantial and that there was no physical evidence tying her to the murder. And Donna's defense team says that they plan to appeal again, and Ken said that he hopes that she wins this time. So Radley believes that his mother did kill his father, but he continues to visit her in prison. He said that his father had been abusive to his mother over the years, and he doesn't hate her for what she did. He also believes that his mother wouldn't have killed his father if it wasn't for Francine Tice. So Radley blames Francine for this whole situation. But after her second trial, Radley said he became tired of her always trying to blame him for the murder and ruining his reputation. So at this point, he stopped talking to her. He's like, you keep trying to pin this murder on me. I did not do it. The first time was okay, he said, but the second time was like, this is enough.
But I feel like if you're like, you have to understand that like they need another suspect. And that they're going to have to drag you. And you're just going to have to, like, if you think your mom didn't do it, you're just going to have to be like, all right, I'll take it. Whatever.
Like, as long as there's not enough evidence to convict me, then sure, you can. Because there's a big difference between you being used as a suspect to create reasonable doubt for your mom to be acquitted and you actually being arrested, you know?
Yeah.
And then apparently she also ridiculed him for seeing a therapist, and so that made him mad and was part of the reason that he stopped talking to her. So
I'm getting some real dysfunctional family vibes.
I mean, you don't stop talking to your mom after you think that she killed your dad. Like, he says he thinks that she did it. He didn't stop talking to her after that, but she makes fun of him for seeing a therapist, and that's the line. So.
Oh, goodness. Oh, goodness.
So that is the murder of Lanny Horwitz. I'm not completely sure. I don't know. I think it was either Donna or Radley, but I don't know which one, honestly.
Yeah, I find it kind of weird how Radley's like stopping talking to her over something so trivial, but it sounds like Radley has some other issues on himself, so that might just be Radley being Radley. I mean, I feel like it had to be one of them. I feel like that would make the most sense. I mean, I forget the name of it every time. What is it? Murphy's Law? The simplest is the thing that happened. The simplest thing. Occam's razor?
Isn't that Occam's razor? There we go.
I get all my...
Murphy's Law is anything that can go wrong will.
And that's what happened. Lanny's dead.
Exactly.
So, Lanny's dead, Donna's in jail, and Radley won't talk to her. Everything that can go wrong just went wrong. Okay?
Courtney's like, I stand by what I said.
But I meant Occam's razor. So, I mean, yeah, I do find it suspicious he had no, like, residue on his hand. And I feel like there would be, but maybe he wore gloves. I don't really know, like, the science behind it. Like, is there always residue on your hand when you shoot a gun? Like, always, no matter what? Can there be exceptions? Like...
Also, how long does gunshot residue last? Because remember, the coroner didn't get there and declare it a murder until 10 hours later.
And how many times did he wash his hands? Could have bleached his hands. I mean, there's cleaning supplies in his bathroom.
Or if he had worn the gloves and other clothes, whatever, nobody really had time to hide anything before the security officer got there. But for those 10 hours, are you telling me there was no point that someone could slip away? And, I mean...
Yeah, and I mean, Donna also makes sense because, I mean, I guess she was about to get kicked out again. She didn't really benefit. Like, I feel like you should play the long game maybe and try to, like, marry him again to get some benefit. But, I mean, maybe she just snapped and was like, how dare you choose Francine over me? And, I would think she would be more logical, but I've also seen people are not logical. So, I mean, I can see that because she's like, oh, this is the fifth time we've gotten together and apart. And, yeah, that's a tough one. There's not like a clear cut answer, like probably likely Donna, but could be Radley.
Or they did it together. Maybe they were both in on it.
Yeah. Or Francine snuck in and was like, you know what?
Maybe she had a key
Bang, bang.
because they were lovers. That would explain why there was no forced entry.
Maybe these were rich people in a gated community and just left their door unlocked.
Yeah, could be.
And somebody came in. I don't know why you would do that and not take anything and just kill this person and have no motive. But you know what? Again, Tommy Lynn Sells. Did he ever have any motive?
True.
Here is speculation corner. Here is us literally blaming anyone and everyone who it could be.
Yes, but definitely let us know your thoughts, who you think did it, because it's a good discussion, because I don't know. Courtney, what is your perk of the week?
Okay, so my perk of the week. So there is this local coffee shop in South Knoxville called South Press. People around here may have heard of it. So it was opened by Jaclyn Fish, who is a trans woman and saw a need for a sober, safe place for members of the LGBTQ community. So like, of course we have like a few gay bars, gay clubs, but if you're trying to be sober, that's not really a good place to be as a safe place. Mm-hmm. So she saw something she needed as a kid and wanted to give that to other people. And so she just recently was trying to move into this bigger building, a bigger space. And one of the inspectors with Knoxville did not like her, probably because we are in the South, and basically was putting up every single hurdle he could and trying to say nothing was up to code. She fixed everything, and then it got to a point, I think it was Monday, where she was like, I put my last $3,000 in, like I can't put any more money in it. And she was like, I want someone, please, like just buy this space and just leave it open and let it be a safe place for people, but I can't keep going. So then people in the community were like, no, this isn't cool. Someone started to GoFundMe, and within a day, can you guess how much money they raised?
How much money?
$31,000. That's just GoFundMe. People were also Venmoing her.
I have chills. Like, I have chills right now.
Yeah. So, and I was like bawling my eyes out reading, because you can leave a comment on GoFundMe and people just being like, this is something we need. And she is providing this for everyone. And like their original goal was $3,000, and literally one day, $31,000 they raised for her. So now she gets to renovate everything and keep it open, and hopefully it'll help her too, because she's put all of her money and her time and her energy into this. And so now, she can see how much what she's doing matters and how much it's needed. And it was just such a feel-good moment in a shitty world. So.
That is amazing. That is a wonderful perk of the week. Thank you for sharing. I think everyone would love that warm, feel-good, fuzzy, and that's awesome.
Yeah. Because a lot of times in Knoxville and the South, you see so much hate. Not even just in the South. You see it everywhere. And it's heartbreaking. And then like when I was talking about like with the Southside Pride I went to, and seeing everyone come together and just be happy. And then seeing everyone just rally around this woman to help her with her coffee shop, to provide a safe place for anyone who needs it. So that is my perk of the week. Jaclyn, what is your perk of the week?
So my perk of the week is also local business related. So actually when Courtney was here last weekend, we went to Fountain Bookstore, which is my favorite bookstore in Richmond. They did just recently reopen from the pandemic, so they were doing like online orders, and at one brief point they had like browsing appointments, but then they shut back down when cases started rising again. And so they've mostly been completely shut down this whole time, but they have still been working, doing online orders, doing a ton of virtual events. Like they support the community so much. They really support like local artists and authors, and just a wonderful local woman owned bookstore. So it was super exciting to get to go in there and browse books again and just smell a bookstore. If you guys love books, you know what I mean. Just that bookstore smell, and buy real physical books that you can touch. So Courtney and I bought way too many books, and now we're going to have to read them and then swap like we do. So, just...
And she was like the nicest woman ever. She gave sweet little Millie a free book for her first bookstore visit. And one of the books I bought, which I didn't even notice, was just like a little like wrinkled at the top, which I don't care because I'm probably going to destroy this book with, I'm going to read it in the shower with me probably, take it everywhere. But she like gave me a discount and was like, oh no, I don't want you to pay full price when it's a little damaged. Like, just the nicest woman. And I love supporting a local business.
Yes, definitely. So definitely check out South Press, check out Fountain Bookstore. Let us know your favorite local businesses. Always support your local businesses, all that good stuff. But tell us all about it on Instagram at Caffeinated Crimes Pod, on Twitter at Caff Crimes Pod, on Facebook at Caffeinated Crimes Podcast, or you can email us at caffeinatedcrimespod@gmail.com. If you want to support your local Courtney and Jaclyn, you can do so on patreon.com/caffeinatedcrimes. We have early releases of our 2-part episodes. We have bonus episodes, video episodes, Q&As, and monthly hangouts, and you get to join our Discord and chat with us about who killed Lanny. Was it Donna? Was it Radley? Let's talk about it in the Discord. Me? Did Courtney do it? Little 17-year-old Courtney. Is that right? 16? September 2011? Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know.
Something
Too
like
long ago. Yeah. You can also follow South Press or Jaclyn on TikTok. She posts a lot of TikToks of the shop too, so you can see that. And should we make a TikTok? Would you want to see?
Yeah.
Like Jaclyn and Courtney telling stories really quickly? We could do like 1-minute murder things, or we could just talk about random stuff, or we could react to true crime memes on TikTok. I watch a lot of TikTok. I'm not going to do a dance because your girl's white and it shows. So I'm not going to dance.
I don't know.
I might dance. If you get us followers, I'll dance. Anyway.
I feel like we need a limit here. If this many followers, downloads, whatever, Courtney will do.
If we get 50,000 followers on TikTok, which isn't that unrealistic because people on TikTok will follow for anything, myself included.
If we get 50 Apple reviews.
If we get 50 Apple reviews, not only will you get a pen, a sticker, and a $10 gift card to the coffee shop of your choice, possibly, if you win, we'll make a TikTok, and if you get 5,000 followers, views, something on TikTok, I'll do a TikTok dance of you guys' choosing. I'll let you pick. We'll do a poll. You can't make fun of me. Yeah, you can. It's fine. I'll make fun of myself. Anyway, don't forget our Apple Reviews giveaway. Please go do that. Leave some information. Get as many as you can. And in the meantime, go have a cup of coffee.
And don't commit a crime.